Hi guys, welcome to this video, and today we're going to be going over plant cell specialisation. So first of all, a plant cell we need to know is eukaryotic, which hopefully you guys know that already. And eukaryotic cells are animal and plant cells. And then specialisation is when a cell becomes adapted to its function. First up, we got the root hair cells. Now these cells actually make up the roots of plants, and as you can see, there are lots of tiny little structures coming outside of the roots if you look at them up close, and these are the root hair cells. Now I'm going to draw one up close now. So this is a root hair cell. So this is what they generally look like. So we're just going to label the structures, sorry guys, which is the nucleus, and you should know what nucleus is by now. We've got a vacuole, we've got the cell membrane, we've also got the cell wall on the outside. And we've actually got this structure here that points outwards, that kind of comes out of the blocky structure, is the root hair. So we've now got the structures inside a root hair cell. Now we need to relate their structure to their function. So we've got the cell wall, which supports cell because it's strong. But guys, you don't actually need to really relate the cell wall or the nucleus or the cell membrane to the function of root hair cells, really. The main ones that you should know about is the root hair, the vacuole, and yeah, that's about it for the root hair cell. They're the main ones that you need to know about of how they're adapted to their function. So we've got a vacuole, and this stores dissolved minerals and water, because what you need to know, guys, is that they're in the roots, and in the roots of plants, their job is to basically absorb water and dissolve minerals from the soil. So the vacuole actually stores these dissolved minerals and water that the roots absorb from the soil. We've then got the nucleus, which just contains DNA, but it also controls cells' activities. Basically, it's kind of like the brain of the cell. We've then got the cell membrane, which is selectively permeable, and you should probably know what that means by now, which basically means it can control what comes into the cell and come out of the cell. We've then got the root hair. Now this increases, I'm going to put S.A for surface area. So it increases surface area of the cell, which allows more uptake, just means, you know, allows more water and minerals to be absorbed. Allows more uptake, minerals plus water. It's also very important to know that because this is a plant cell, it should contain chloroplast, but this root hair cell contains no chloroplast. And this is because chloroplast contains chlorophyll, and chlorophyll absorbs light energy from the sun to create energy. But underground in the soil, there's no light, so chlorophyll cannot do its job. This is why there's no chloroplast in root hair cells. So that's a root hair cell. That is the first specialised cell that you need to know about for plants, and now we're going on to our next one. So now we're on to the xylem. Now it's very important to know that the xylem is actually a tissue, but it's made up of xylem cells. So the things you need to know about the xylem is they're found in plant stems. That's very important to know. They are long and tube-like, as you can see from the diagram that I've drawn. They carry water, I've put H2O for water, plus dissolved minerals I've just wrote water on the diagram, but that's because it's mainly is water, but also dissolved minerals. And it takes them, when I refer to them, I mean water and dissolved minerals, takes them to leaves from the root. So basically the xylem transports water and dissolved minerals from the roots to the leaves of the plant. Now it's extremely important to know that xylem tissue, the cells are actually surrounded in a protein called lignin. Now lignin is actually waterproof. This means the water cannot travel through lignin. And because of this lignin, what actually happens is that the xylem cells actually die because they're covered in lignin, which doesn't allow water to get inside of the cells, which cause the cells to die. Now it's also important to know that lignin is strong and supports the cells. Now, because these cells have actually died, they obviously would look like normal cells, but they've actually broken down. And because they've broken down, this has created a long, hollow tube. Because here, there would actually be a cell wall here, cell wall here, cell wall here, cell wall here, and there would be like a nucleus. There would be the chloroplast, the mitochondria, the ribosomes, the vacuole. But because these cells have died, all the internal organelles of the cells have actually died along with it. And now it's just a hollow tube. And this hollow tube can be referred to as lumen. It's got a large lumen, and lumen just means the thickness of the tube. Now the reason why this tube is supposed to be hollow is that it allows more water, and I'll put dis for dissolved minerals, to flow. So the reason why there's no internal structures, and there is a bit of cytoplasm in these cells, guys, but there's not a lot. And the reason why is it allows more water and dissolved minerals to flow. Because if there was all these internal structures, for example, the cell wall, the water could not actually pass through the xylem tissue. So that's really it for the xylem tissue. Obviously, we've got to remember that xylem cells are specialised and they form xylem tissue, and they're lined in lignin, which is a protein which provides strength and support to the cells, which basically that stops the stem from collapsing. Lignin is waterproof, which means water cannot enter these cells from the outside. So this actually means the cells die, which creates a large lumen, which allows more water and dissolved minerals to flow, to take them from the roots to the leaves of the plant. So the last specialised plant cells we need to know about is actually the phloem. But the phloem is a tissue, and it's made of two different types of specialised cells. So first we have these cells here. These are these cells, and these are called phloem vessel cells. Now these have no nucleus. They have not much cytoplasm, so it's limited. So you can write limited cytoplasm. I'll put that in brackets. And then also has sieve plates. Now, obviously, you probably don't know what sieve plates are, but these are the pores here, the gaps. So it allows the dissolved sugars to flow through these gaps, because phloems transport dissolved sugars up and down a plant. So it allows the dissolved sugars to travel through the phloem vessel cells. And we also can see there's some mitochondria here, but there's actually not enough. And this is where the companion cells actually come in hand. So these cells here are called companion cells. With companion cells, they actually contain pores. And these connect companion cells. These can connect the companion and vessel cells. So these here, these black strips here, these are actually pores. So basically they're a gap between these two, but I just drawn them as black stripes here. So it's a gap. So with the companion cells, they also contain many, that's good to know, many mitochondria. And now, as you should know from cell structure, mitochondria provide the cell with energy. And the reason why it needs energy is to transport the dissolved sugars around the phloem. So the many mitochondria allows sugars to be transported around phloem vessel cells. So they don't actually get transported around here, they get transported up the phloem vessel cells, and the companion cells actually provide the energy for phloem vessel cells to transport these dissolved sugars around the plant. So the reason why the phloem vessel cells don't actually have enough mitochondria is because of the lack of the cytoplasm. And for there to be organelles, there actually needs to be a cytoplasm. So where there's limited cytoplasm, that means there's going to be limited organelles, which is the reason why there's companion cells besides these phloem vessel cells to allow more mitochondria to produce more energy for the dissolved sugars to move around the plant. So that's it on the phloem as well. So remember, we've got our phloem vessel cells, which actually transport the dissolved sugars up and down the plant. We've got a tiny bit of cytoplasm in these cells, but they have been broken down. We've got some mitochondria, but then we've got the companion cells, which are next to these phloem vessel cells, and they contain pores, which connect the companion and vessel cells. They have many mitochondria to allow sugars to be transported around the phloem vessel cells, so they produce energy to allow this. And then remember, the phloem vessel cells have no nucleus, not much cytoplasm, and then we've got the sieve plates here, which actually allow the dissolved sugars to move around the plant. That's it for plant cell specialisation. We've got the root hair cell, xylem, phloem. The root hair cell contains a vacuole, which stores the water and dissolved minerals. They've also got root hairs, which increase the surface area to allow more water and dissolved minerals uptake. We've also got the xylem, which transports water and dissolved minerals. We've got the lignin, which lines the xylem. We've also got the phloem, which contains the sieve plates. We've got the companion cells next to the phloem, and this transports dissolved sugars around the plant. Remember, the reason why there's not many or even no organelles in these cells is because it allows less resistance to flow of the water and dissolved minerals or the dissolved sugars. I really hope you guys found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.